At 10:45 p.m. local time, the littoral combat ship USS Sioux City, a Freedom-class LCS, was moving silently through the darkness of the Gulf of Aden. It wasn't a hulking destroyer. It was smaller, faster, and designed to operate in the shallow waters where larger warships cannot go. Its core crew was only about 50 sailors, an incredibly small number, requiring every sailor to be a multi-skilled expert. Tonight, they were the silent watchmen on one of the world's busiest maritime highways. Its mission, to protect a critical shipping corridor. The night was quiet, the sea was calm, but that silence was about to be shattered by a threat from the air. Unbeknownst to the crew of the Sioux City, from a well-camouflaged mobile launcher on the coast of Yemen, Houthi forces had just fired a C-802 anti-ship cruise missile, a Chinese-designed weapon copied by Iran. Propelled by a small jet engine, it flew at nearly 900 kilometers per hour, just a few meters above the sea. To conventional radar systems, it was nearly invisible, masked by the clutter of the waves. It flew low, hugging the surface, and was closing at subsonic speed. The Houthi plan was clear. Use the darkness and the missile's sea-skimming ability to execute a surprise attack, neutralizing the American warship before it could react. They believed the small American ship would be an easy target, a resounding propaganda victory. But they had made a critical mistake. The USS Sioux City was not alone. It was part of a layered defensive network, and the eyes of that network had seen everything. That eye in the sky was an MQ-4C Triton drone, circling at an altitude of over 50,000 feet. With a wingspan comparable to a Boeing 737, it can fly for more than 24 hours, scanning a vast area with its powerful sensors. Its infrared sensor detected the heat bloom of the missile launch from the very first seconds. The data was instantly relayed to the command center aboard the aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush. The moment the warning was received, the Sioux City knew it was the target. Inside the ship's compact combat information center, alarms blared. "Warning, warning, inbound missile detected!" The captain, a seasoned officer, yelled over the internal communication system. "All stations to battle stations! Activate defensive systems!" Despite being a small and lightly armed ship, the Sioux City was built to survive. Its crew, though much smaller than a destroyer's, was cross-trained and reacted with lightning speed. Its highly automated combat system allowed a small team to operate the entire ship. Within seconds, the ship's defensive systems were active. But time was not on their side. The C-802 missile could cover the remaining distance in under 4 minutes. The ship's close-in weapon systems might not be enough to stop a direct hit. Its SeaRAM missile system could engage the threat, but it needed time to lock on. Its 57mm cannon was also effective, but had limited range. They were in a race against time. They needed help, and that help was on its way, but not from another ship. It came from the sky. As soon as the data from the Triton came in, an EA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft was tasked. It was on a patrol mission 80 nautical miles away. Inside the cockpit, the pilot and the electronic warfare officer, EWO, worked as one. "EWO, we have a new tasking," the pilot said. "Neutralize one inbound bird." Without a word, the EWO simply nodded, his fingers flying across his control panel, prepping the jamming pods. The pilot banked hard, hit the afterburners, and the Growler screamed forward at supersonic speed. It carried no bombs or attack missiles. Its weapon was the electromagnetic spectrum. The C-802 missile, while effective, relies on an active radar seeker in its final phase to find its target. It's like a bat, emitting a cry and listening for the echo to "see" in the dark. This seeker sends out radar pulses and listens for the return signal. This was its critical vulnerability. The Growler, flying at a safe distance, aimed its ALQ-99 jamming pods at the missile. These pods are flying power plants, capable of creating a dense wall of electromagnetic energy. It didn't just use conventional jamming. It employed a technique called digital radio frequency memory jamming. Instead of just creating white noise, the DRFM system records the missile's radar signal, copies it, alters a few parameters, and sends it back. Got his signal locked, the EWO reported. Initiating Mirage program, generating 20 false targets. For the missile's brain, this was like walking into a hall of mirrors. It saw hundreds of reflections of itself, but didn't know which was real. On the missile seeker's display, the real USS Sioux City suddenly vanished, replaced by dozens of false targets moving at strange speeds and directions. The missile's electronic brain was overloaded. It didn't know which target was real. It tried to lock onto one, then another. In desperation, its processor chose the false target with the strongest and clearest signal. A perfect trap set by the Growler. Finally, completely fooled, it selected a false target several nautical miles away from the real ship. It dove into the sea and exploded harmlessly. The Sioux City was safe, but the relief didn't last long. "Warning! Second launch detected," the tactical officer on the ship shouted. The Triton high above confirmed. The Houthis had fired not one, but 2 missiles. The second was launched just 30 seconds after the first, a classic saturation tactic. The Growler immediately shifted its jamming focus. "EWO, we've got a second bird!" But this time, there was a problem. The second missile was a different, likely upgraded variant with better counter-jamming software. It ignored most of the false targets and continued hurtling towards the ship. "Jamming is not 100% effective," the Growler's EWO reported. "He's still coming." Now, there was no more time for high-tech, long-range solutions. It was time for a physical, visual, and close-quarters fight. Aboard the Sioux City, the captain ordered, "SeaRAM system, engage! 57mm gun, stand by." The SeaRAM launcher, an autonomous missile defense system, whirred to life, its infrared seeker scanning for the heat signature of the incoming missile. "Locked!" the system reported in a computerized voice. 2 rolling airframe missiles shot out of the launcher, spinning as they flew, homing in on the target. A few seconds later, a small explosion lit up the night sky. One had hit, but the C-802 was tough. It was damaged, destabilized, but still flying on sheer momentum. "He's still coming!" Range 2,000 meters. Now, it was the Bofors 57mm cannon's turn. The automated gun turret swiveled towards the threat. "Fire!" the captain yelled. The cannon roared, spitting out a burst of specially programmed 3P ammunition. These shells don't need to hit directly. They are set to detonate when they get close to the target, creating a dense cloud of tungsten fragments. That high-velocity cloud of metal shredded the remaining body of the missile. It exploded into a fireball less than 800 meters from the ship. Hot debris rained down into the sea. On the bridge, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. They had just been in a real fight. They had faced the enemy and won with their own firepower. But the story wasn't over, because while the Sioux City was busy defending itself, the Growler had completed its other task, pinpointing the exact location of the coastal radar station that had guided both missiles. And that's when the retaliation began. From the destroyer USS Nimitz, part of the strike group, a single missile was launched. It was an AGM-88 HARM, a high-speed anti-radiation missile. It doesn't need a radar to guide it. It sniffs its way to the target by homing in on the very radar waves the enemy is emitting. It is a bloodhound born to hunt radar dishes. The Houthi radar station had just signed its own death warrant. The HARM missile screamed in at over Mach 2 and turned the radar station into a pile of molten metal. The engagement ended in silence, but the retaliation continued. The U.S. Navy doesn't just want to neutralize the immediate threat. They want to pull it out by the roots. Their philosophy: don't just stop the spear, destroy the smith and the forge that made it. Data from the Triton's initial missile launch detection, combined with the location of the just-destroyed radar site, allowed intelligence analysts to pinpoint the mobile launcher's location. They cross-referenced satellite imagery from before and after the launch, looking for tire tracks for disturbed Earth. A launcher truck was spotted trying to hide in a ravine. Now it was time to unleash the arrow of the sea god. From the vertical launch tubes of the nuclear-powered submarine USS Florida, operating silently nearby, a volley of Tomahawk cruise missiles was launched. The Florida, a former ballistic missile submarine, had been converted into a conventional strike platform, capable of carrying over 150 Tomahawks. It is a stealth arsenal. They flew low, hugging the terrain of the Yemeni coast, undetectable. Their Tercom guidance system compared a pre-programmed digital terrain map with the actual terrain below, allowing them to fly through valleys and over ridges with pinpoint accuracy. Their targets, the mobile missile launcher and the suspected weapons depot deep in a canyon. Minutes later, reconnaissance satellites confirmed multiple secondary explosions at the target. Fireballs erupted in the night, a sure sign that missile fuel and explosives had been hit. The weapons depot was completely destroyed. In less than an hour from one brazen Houthi attack, the U.S. Navy had responded with a multi-platform counterattack. A drone detected, an electronic attack aircraft neutralized, an anti-radiation missile destroyed the guidance system, and submarine-launched cruise missiles eliminated the launcher at its source. The Houthi attack hadn't just failed. It had become a self-destructing intelligence report, exposing the locations of their most valuable assets. This retaliation proved one thing. Owning a few anti-ship missiles is not enough to challenge the U.S. Navy, because you're not fighting just one ship. You're fighting an entire network of sensors, weapons, and platforms all connected. A network that can render your most powerful weapon useless and then use your own act of aggression to hunt you down and destroy you at the source. U.S. Central Command decided that destroying the launcher wasn't enough. They needed to send a clearer message. They wanted to ensure the Houthis' ability to conduct similar attacks in the future was eliminated. Hours later, two FA-18 Super Hornets launched from the USS George H.W. Bush, armed with JDAM smart bombs. Each GPS-guided bomb could hit a target the size of a table from tens of thousands of feet. Their target, a Houthi training and command center where the attacks were planned. The precision airstrike leveled the facility. Subsequent intelligence confirmed that several Iranian missile experts had also been present at the site. The Houthi losses were not just material. Their ability to conduct anti-ship missile attacks had been severely degraded. They had not only lost weapons, they had lost experts and command facilities. This incident demonstrated a shift in U.S. strategy, from passive defense to active deterrence. Any attack would be met with overwhelming force, targeting the enemy's entire kill chain. The Houthi attack had taught them and their patrons an expensive lesson. In modern warfare, the winner isn't the one with the sharpest spear, but the one with the smartest shield and a sledgehammer that comes down right after. But there is one final lesson, more important than all the technology. It's about the people. From the officer on the Triton who first spotted the threat, to the pilot in the Growler who kept a cool head to neutralize it, to the crew of the Sioux City who trusted their systems and their shipmates. Victory wasn't decided by machines, but by the highest-trained human beings operating those machines with extraordinary calm and professionalism. If you were the strike group commander that night, what would you have done differently? Would you have stopped after destroying the military targets, or would you have gone further? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this story tense and fascinating, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss what's coming next. If you want to go one step further and directly support the channel, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges and help us bring more real-world naval stories to light. Click join on our channel page and come aboard. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, one missile can start a fight, but the response will end it. Thanks for watching.